Okay, for some reason OBS disconnected. I don't know what was going on. Oh well. Are you trying to intimidate me? Perish the thought. As if I would do something so uncouth. Look, I don't even know you, let alone how you would act. And it shall remain that way in light of your previous rudeness. Rudeness? Come on, lying doesn't become you. I have no idea what you're talking about. Before the unknown man can answer, another shadow falls upon you. This time, that of a red-haired woman in a gothic dress. I like her. Her eyes dart from you to the unknown man and back to you again. Is everything all right here? No, Mrs. Vulpes. Everything is quite fine. In fact, I was just on my way out of this fine establishment. Mrs. Vulpes gives the man a measuring look, and when she next speaks, there is a lethal edge to her tone. I'll be keeping my eye on you, Damien. Oh, as a goth? Come on, really? Do we have to be shown doing the dramatic hand gesture? I mean, we do them, but still. Tut, tut, Mrs. Vulpes, always with the threats. Why, if I didn't know any better, I'd think you didn't like me. One final word of warning. Don't get on my bad side. You wouldn't like it. So noted. However, if I may offer a piece of advice to you and this young lady, rudeness may carry its own consequences, ones you might not even dream of. With that last cryptic statement, Damien heads for the exit and leaves almost as quickly as he had entered your life. Does he come here often? Because if he does, I promise you he won't grace these premises again. I apologize if he happened to sour your evening's entertainment. You're about to say something else when Nathan and Casimir saunter over to you. They try to engage in conversation, but from the way they're slurring their speech, you doubt they will remember this evening, let alone carry on a coherent conversation. I hate when it does that. At least I was spared a massive headache. I better see you two see to getting you home. Okay, I'm about to start my current money. Set work rate for each job. Okay. So, ooh, I gotta pick a job? So, let's see, where am I gonna go? The library. Oh. I can do library research. Good. Dang it. Building services. Nope, not doing that. Exotic. You know what? Let's start with some exotic dancing. Monday, 2nd of June. You shift slightly in your bed. Your limbs feel like dead wood, and you could readily stay in bed except for the headache playing havoc in your skull. Stirring, you groggily sit up on the edge of your bed, and your feet hit the floor with a heavy thump. Blurrily, you look at your surroundings, and realize you fell asleep in your clothes from the night before. She does that a lot. Woof! You glance down and see your dog giving a concerned glance in your direction. He gives your leg a gentle lick. There's a knock on your door, and for a moment it feels like someone is driving nails into your skull. Hey, kiddo, are you awake? And good morning to you too. Do you want some toast with that? Sorry, Dad. I don't feel that well. I can't imagine why. You know, I'm a little disappointed. Huh? I offered to pick you up. With a hangover this bad, you really shouldn't have driven home. I didn't drink that much. There was something wrong with the drinks. I didn't feel so great at the bar. Maybe there's something in the drink. I hope not. If so, at least you made it back home. Could you have gotten something stronger than anticipated? Perhaps. Well, come downstairs when you can, and I'll have breakfast ready. For those who didn't see the first episode, he looks like Dad bod Maxwell Sheffield, so he gets a bad British accent. Joshua closes the door, and the sound sends another slight wave of pain through your head. But at least it isn't as bad as before. From the corner of your eye, Nick has his teeth bared and is snarling at you. Please be quiet, boy. Nick cocks his head and gives another slightly more hesitant growl before pawing at the closed door. With a slight sigh, you rise from the bed and get ready to start your day. If I'm going exotic dancing... Now that you have some free time, you find yourself back at home, rummaging around the refrigerator. For some reason, you've been hungrier than normal, but nothing seems to taste as good lately. Uh-oh. You're eyeing the lunch meats and wonder how it would taste in a potato chip sandwich when you hear someone clear their throat behind you. Turning, you see your stepfather standing behind you. Small look of embarrassment on his face. Hey, Dad, do you need in here? No, I'm good. Joshua pats his stomach for emphasis, and then his features grow a little more serious. If you've got some time, I could use a favor. Sure, what do you... I'd like you to speak to Sabrina. I know Sabrina is an adult. Turning 18 will do that. Turning 18 will do that for you. However, something is going on with her, and I don't want her to ruin her life for it. I'll ask her one more time, but I don't feel comfortable interrogating her. Well, she should be home in about half an hour. I'll see her then. You decide to wait in Sabrina's bedroom to talk with her. This will give you a measure of privacy, and hopefully persuade her to open up to you. The room feels quite spacious since it doubles as a painting studio. It feels quite cheery, especially when the morning sun lights up the room, making the various paintings seem alive. Looking at each painting, it's like looking at various points of Sabrina's life. There's the finger painting from first grade, which earned her a blue ribbon in a competition. There is another, which Sabrina made for a girl she was crushing on, but was rejected when she shared her desire. Oh, honey, we've all been there. Then your eyes are drawn to some other pictures, some on the ceiling, some above her bed, that look quite more recent. Let's look at the ceiling. You look at the ceiling and smile as you remember how Sabrina pestered you and your father until some of her paintings were mounted. Until now, you never took that close of a look. You look at a red and white painting. What you took to be red and white lines actually looks like a tree with birds amongst the branches. There's something sinister about the picture, for the color looks like fresh blood, and you can almost taste the iron on your tongue. You step back from the paintings and see that you have at least another 10 minutes before Sabrina gets back. Though you'd worked with her earlier, you know her schedule can be quite erratic, even after work. So you find yourself standing at her dresser. The top is cluttered with various sundry items like her jewelry, makeup, and whatnot. Then you spy a sketch pad. There's a piece of paper exposed. Lady Knight fighting a dragon. Looking closer and noting the quality of the picture, it comes from a time when Sabrina was much less skilled. It shows a figure that looks somewhat like you, dressed in a medieval gown of some kind. You're locked in a cage behind a dragon, and battling the dragon is Night, but one that appears to be Sabrina-shaped. You start to turn the picture around to get a better look when you hear a click as a shoe presses up against something. Looking down, you see a point sticking out the bottom of the dresser. Curious, you pull it out. Find a rather wicked-looking dagger. There appears to be some dried red flakes on the side of the blade. Suddenly, you hear Nick giving a welcoming bark from down below. You quickly put the dagger back and take a seat at the foot of Sabrina's bed. The door opens with great energy as Sabrina dashes into the room, and she about falls when she sees you sitting there quietly. "Hey, Caitlin." "Hey, Sabrina." Several moments of quiet pass, and you find yourself clearing your throat. "I guess you're wondering why I'm in your room." "Among other things, yes." She takes a seat beside you, and you notice there's a hint of apple blossoms in the air. "This is about Dad again, isn't it?" "Yeah, don't get mad at him. He's just worried." "Look, I don't want to get into a fight about it, but this isn't his business." "Nor mine?" Sabrina looks at you. There's a sad look on her face. "I'd like to tell you. Really, I would, but we haven't really had a chance to talk in a long time, have we?" "No, I miss those talks. Don't get me wrong. You had college, and I had school, and now my job." Sabrina goes silent, and you give her hand a gentle squeeze. "For what it's worth, I've enjoyed working with you on the job." "Me too." Ask about the sketch pad, ask about the dagger. Let's go this inconsequential stuff. "Sorry, I guess I just don't have much to talk about." "Me neither. That's what happens when people get interested in different things. Of course, where you've graduated, I'll be leaving home shortly. I'm going to miss you, you know. I wish you didn't have to go." You give your stepsister a reassuring hug, and she tentatively returns your embrace. "Then we make the time we have that much better." You rise from the bed and make your way to the door. Just as you twist the knob, you feel a moment of dread rise along your spine. You glance in Sabrina's direction, and a brief thought flashes through your mind. "Enemy!" Sabrina looks at you with concern. "Do I have something on my face?" "No, I just realized how grown up you've become." She blushes. "And as for Dad, I'll tell him to back off." "Thanks." "Okay." You look at your phone, then the building before you, then your phone once more. This is where I'm supposed to show up." You check the address Victor sent you one last time and shrug. At least you weren't late. In fact, you have 5 minutes to spare. However, the way Nick was taking his time on his morning walk, you thought you'd be late for sure. Broken windows and cracked walls surround you. The smell of rotten eggs assault your nostrils. You feel something lightly tap on the wall on top of your head. Instinctually, you look up and see the ceiling is as devastated as the walls. You look around the building, wondering where Victor was playing a joke at your expense, but for the time you've known him, that would be entirely out of character. So you take another look around the place to pass the time. You see some graffiti on the back wall, while there seems to be a pile of something dark burned into the floor in the corner. Let's look in the corner, like a white woman on the internet. You go to the corner, and it appears to be cleaner than the rest of the building. However, what draws your attention is a set of shoe prints burned into the floor. You give the blackened step a nudge with your foot and meet with resistance. So you bend down and run your hand over it. You find it to be burnt rubber. Interesting. Someone's shoes got burned into the ground. A couple more minutes pass when you hear the door at the far end of the room creak open. Victor is standing there, looks at his watch, and gives a smile. 8 a.m., right on the dot. I am glad to see that you make efficient use of your time. Actually, I got here about 2 or 3 minutes ago. Victor goes quiet and chews on his lip in a gesture you realize is indicative of him deep in thought. He gives a slight nod of his after a minute passes. Blah, blah, blah. 3 minutes is still within the parameters of acceptable arrival time. I never knew someone who'd get upset if someone came a little early. Not so much upset as disappointed. Oh? Think of it this way. Every minute that passes is one you can never reclaim, correct? I can't argue with that. Of course not. It is a logical conclusion. Therefore, if you go somewhere too early, all you are doing is wasting time, which could be used in more productive fashion. You might have a point, but there's still ways to make it enjoyable. Perhaps. However, that topic should wait for another day, as you must commence your duties. Please follow me. You stride down a darkened hallway, and if anything, it is even worse than the previous room you were just in. However, when you come across a thick metal door, and near it is a smaller metal box which is divided into 2 portions. The upper half appears to be some kind of scanner, while the bottom half holds the outline of a hand. Unknown voice. Unauthorized presence detected. Please step away from the entrance point or prepare for proper deterrence. I would normally be impressed by your security measures, but what does it mean by deterrence? For the moment, it is better that you don't know. Needless to say, it isn't pleasant. Victor steps in front of you and clears his throat. Computer, override. Authorization, Victor. Voice analysis accepted. Command acknowledged. Anti-entry measures powering down. Sorry about that. Once we get you settled in, I will see about adding your biometric data to the security system. You won't have any problems in the future. Victor puts his hand near the scanner and places his hand on the outline. 2 red lights appear, scanning his eye and his hand. Retinal scan and handprint accepted. Welcome back, Victor. Isn't that a little, well, paranoid? Possibly, but I don't think you could ever be too prepared. Don't you think? Prepared for what? Armageddon? Not this location. One question. Why an abandoned building? Is it because you're hiding something? Step this way and you will see. You follow Victor through the metallic doorway, and you find yourself in a room filled with several technological marvels. So what do you think? Oh, Victor, now I get it. You're Frankenstein. Amazing. And all of this is yours? I got an inheritance from my grandfather, separate from my family's wealth. So they don't know about this place? Maybe my father. However, if he does, he hasn't brought it up, and I would prefer keep it that way. From Victor's tone of voice, you can tell this is a bit of a sore subject for him. Okay, if he's supposed to be the Frankenstein, then I'm sure she's probably doing a German accent. Do you mind if I look around? Be my guest. So I guess you are technically my employee now. Your eyes are drawn to the shelves at the back. You first start looking through his bottles of chemicals, and you find yourself quite impressed. There's a good number that you couldn't have unless you had the appropriate licenses, wealth, or both. Slightly more worrisome, though there are some you could swear are illegal. Then your eyes are drawn to a specimen jar. It contains a creature you never saw before. It looks vaguely reptilian, but with 2 prominent fangs at the front. Victor, what is this? What's that? That's my chupacabra. Very funny. Seriously, what is it? Some kind of mutant lizard? I told you, it's my chupacabra. Wait, you're serious, aren't you? Completely. You feel a slight uneasiness fill you, and you hold onto the shelf for support. So, that thing in the jar, it's real? DNA sequencing shows that there's been no known species. Then this lab it really is a secret lab? Are you some kind of mad scientist? Victor appears to be slightly hurt by the appellation. Mad? Do I give off that impression? No, sorry. It's just a turn of phrase. So when you're not in school, I guess you can say I'm sort of a paranormal investigator. And you believe all this is real? Well, I was going to wait before saying this, but if you want to go with me on the next investigation, you're welcome to come. It might just be you, but you think you detect some redness in Victor's cheeks, as if he is somewhat bashful to invite you. German boy has emotions, I'm sorry. Being in America for so long has ruined me. And you don't have any other motive on wanting me there? The redness increases a little bit, and Victor slightly stammers. Of course not. Agree to go for science. Agree to keep him company. I'll go for science. +1 to my nerd alignment. Of course I'll go. I mean, if you're being honest about the chupacabra, imagine what else there might be. Scientific discovery is one of the purest motives there can be. So what are you going to have me do today? Nothing too onerous. Simple reorganization and cleaning to start with. I guess it's time to do library research for my professor. You feel a slight chill as you navigate your way through the dungeon. Looking down, you feel grateful you managed to escape with your life when the gelatinous monster engulfs you and consumes your armor. What? There's a large growl behind you, and a large wolf-like creature pads your way. It licks its lips as it hones in on your secret. You look for a buffer weapon of any kind. Your sword and shield long gone with your armor. Unfortunately, nothing is close at hand, except for a door. It looks sturdy enough that if you put your weight behind it, you should stay safe. As the door closes behind you, you find yourself in a space of pure blackness. You look for the door behind you, but to your chagrin, it has completely disappeared. What foul spell is this? You glance for any sort of orientation, but all is complete and utter darkness. You get a slight headache when you look toward the distance, but without any landmarks. It all bleeds into one amorphous ebon nightmare. You slowly start to walk, though it is disconcerting to have no direction to go. A slight chill goes down your spine, and you can't help but get the feeling that you are being watched. For a moment, you thought you heard something behind you, but as you swivel on your heel, you're just confronted with yet more blackness. Is anyone out there? Hello? For a moment, you think all this must be some horrible dream. You give your head a vigorous shake, but this avails you little but a slight headache. A pain that is becoming all too common for your tastes. You move once more, though without a marker or destination, it feels pointless. Just as you think you might take another short break, you hear a dull laugh coming from the right. Who's there? Show yourself! The laugh continues for another few seconds, but there is nothing to see. You edge forward when you feel a slight touch on your left shoulder, as if caressed by a feather. You turn around once more, but this time you think you can see a shape within the darkness. Its outline appears to be human, but that is all you can see. Welcome. Who are you? Why, I'm your host, of course. Host? Yes, host. Do you think you could enter my sanctuary without an invitation? What are you saying? I received no invitation. Come now. You are starting to test my patience with your unceasing prattle. Please walk this way. No, I'm not going anywhere until you answer my questions. You come into my home, you make a mess of my things, and then you stand there making demands of me. How rude. A wave of panic sweeps over you as the shadow starts to move toward you, though you can't see its face. Anger and menace radiate from it. You have little time before it is upon you. What do you do? Attack it. Run. Ask for mercy. I'm not above attacking the darkness, but I don't have magic missile. I'm gonna run. If I'm in my underwear, I'm not wearing heels. You decided you've had enough of this. With a speed you didn't know you had, dart away from the shadow. You run for what seems like miles, occasionally looking behind you. At first, you saw the shadow, but it slowly started to fall away until it was completely out of sight. Then you look forward once more and almost scream as you see a human-sized figure flat on the ground. It slowly starts to increase in size. You try to sprint away, but the shadow's reach is longer yet, and you flail impotently as you fall into the shadow. The fuck? You let out a shout, and your eyes open wide. Taking a glance, you see that you're lying on your bed, the blankets drenched in sweat. Nick gives a soft whine and licks your hand as you settle into bed. Well, okay, it's Wednesday. As much as I want to do this, screw it, let's do this. Let's do Nadia, and then I'm gonna give my throat a rest because, all this talking. Normally when my mouth is moving this much, is doing something to my partner. Yeah, the wine is getting to me. For your first week of work, you find Nadia isn't a very demanding boss, though an eclectic one. You shake your head, trying to wake up when you feel a soft hand on your shoulder. Everything all right? If the research is boring you, boobies. No, it's not that. I've just not slept well the last couple days. Nothing to get worried about. If you are sure. I am. Between these articles and the equipment you had me ordered, are you getting ready to do another ghost hunting session? Anyway, yes. I'm a little surprised you figured it out. When you asked me to find out what I could on the old Vandermoor place, it couldn't be much else. Going as far back as I can remember, kids would always dare each other to go inside. Did you? Me, Brandon, and Sabrina did. Brandon, Sabrina, and I did. Sabrina, if you didn't know her better, you'd swear there was a slightly jealous edge to Nadia's tone. She's my stepsister. Are you close? We get along pretty good. Anyway, we made a bet with some friends that we could stay in the attic for at least a half hour. The place where old man Vandermoor hung himself. So what happened? Well, when my mom and dad said the place was dangerous, they were right. Not in any spooky sense, but I thought the stairs were going to collapse under our weight. That is one of the hazards of ghost hunting. One that many people don't realize. You get old, abandoned buildings. I think the worst bit of it was the mold. I swear I was sneezing half the time. So what did you win from your bet? We got the other person's dessert at lunch for a week. Okay, look, that's a bet that I would make, so I can't really complain. A few minutes of silence fill the air, and you spare a glance down at the newspaper. This is another article with an unexplained death at the estate. If you don't mind assuaging my curiosity, but do you believe in ghosts? Nadia sits down, her chin resting on her hands, as she sits across from you. Okay, if her chin is resting on her hand, she's doing that thing where we push our boobs together. Let's go with, sure. Woohoo! Which alignment goes up? We might get laid with our former teacher. I don't like the teacher-pupil trope, but stepsister, no, I'm not doing that. And former babysitter, good lord. Honestly, my favorite trope out there is perpetually annoyed goth and her golden retriever girlfriend. Because, well, that's my marriage. Beyond that, I like idiots to lovers a hell of a whole lot. And after that, enemies to lovers. Though I personally haven't seen any, I believe they are real. There are some people who would call you foolish for believing in something if you don't have any definitive proof. Maybe, but most people put their faith in something, even if it's intangible. What about you? Well, the fact that I keep investigating should answer that. One thing I never understood is that most ghost stories, well, they only go back 100 years or so. For the sake of argument, let's assume that ghosts are real. They would exist as an entity separate from the body. I'm with you so far. In a way, they are made up of energy. The living gets their energy from eating. If you're dead, that isn't exactly an option. I've read some romance novels that sure do offer a different opinion. True. Even in the case of possession, it would be your host who would be getting fed. Exactly. So this implies ghosts must get their energy from somewhere else. What is the biggest factor in ghost stories? The people scared? Bingo. Strong emotions. A different energy, as it were. The easiest for them to incite would be fear. Not to mention it would be boring to be a ghost. Oh? Think about it. Most ghost stories tell of them being confined to a certain spot or area. I can't think of a worse sort of prison. So spooking people would bring some excitement to their unlife. If a strong emotion is food for a ghost, would love count as well? If you put hauntings aside, you do have stories where a ghost will show up for a loved one. Nadia seems a bit wistful as she says the last, and she gets a distant look on her face. Something wrong? No, just thinking that if I could, even death wouldn't come between me and the one I love. That is romantic, though bordering on a little stalkerish. I guess it does. So who's the lucky woman? There isn't one. Sadly, between my professional life and my hobbies, it makes it hard to be with someone. What of you? Focused as I was on graduating, I didn't exactly find that special someone. If nothing else, we would likely have split up after college. As an aside, sadly, that's the thing. I was dating someone through college. I thought it was going to be forever. I was young. I was dumb. I was wrong. True enough, but it can still hurt. No different than high school. If anything, I found that worse. After all, you're still a teenager, and up to that point, you really weren't exposed to the rest of the world. Good point. And telling someone it will get better doesn't really help. Even if it is true. Look at us talking about life and death. As if we just came out of a trashy romance novel. As someone who's reading a trashy romance novel, who's about to start writing another trashy romance novel, ouch. One with vampires. There's always got to be vampires. Hopefully the kind that don't sparkle. I have written romance novels with vampires. Bloodlust. Carmilla's Ghost. Petals on the Page. Not a single one of these vampires sparkles, damn it. They don't. Not unless they've been hitting the glitter a little too heavily. It would make stalking a victim a little tough. Please, glitter would be an essential accessory if I went on the prowl. As someone who wears a shit ton of glitter eyeshadow, yeah. Rar. So would I be on the Did I just... Excuse me. Would I be on the menu? Would you like to be? Is she a witch and a vampire? Did I? Oh, yeah. What would you do if I say, perhaps? Speechless? And here I thought you'd like that answer. Well, it looks like I have a date if I get bitten by a vampire. Then I expect to see you in glitter. Did I just... Whew. Wow. I better get back to work. Still, this was an interesting break. That it was. Okay, and on that note, I think we're going to... I guess we gotta start the next day. Yeah, we gotta start the day, but I am going to then move to the main menu so that I can save the game. Yes, I want to overwrite my last save. Alright, everyone. Thank you for those who joined me. Feel free to say hi in the chat, because I can't see who you are on the chat box, but please say hi and let's chat. I am Robin Schadel. This weekend I will be streaming This Way Madness Lies, a Shakespeare JRPG with magical girls. I may do a second stream of Resident Lover, because I'm curious to see how that game goes. But for those who are curious, you can see my latest book, which is up or down on the right-hand side, Crossroad Blues, available everywhere on the internet, paperback and ebook. If you like urban fantasy, if you like monsters in the real world, magical duels, mysteries, sarcastic vampires, lesbians. If you enjoy reading books by those who really do their research in folklore and legend, I've got a book for you. One sentence summary: when the devil comes to collect his due, who will be singing the Crossroad Blues? It's the fourth book in my Adventures of Sam Hain series, but it can be read as a standalone. My next podcast episode, Schadel Speaks, will drop on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and Apple tomorrow at noon, talking about my novel Bloodlust, vampire folklore, and vampires in general. Beyond that, expect a schedule of the stream up on my website, robin-schadel.com, tomorrow. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you all again next time.